Yeah, Cherokee or Cherokee, Romanized, Slagi are one of the indigenous peoples of southeastern woodlands of the United States. Prior to the 18th century, they were concentrated in their homelands and towns along river valleys of what is, check this out, along river valleys of what is now southwestern North Carolina, southeastern Tennessee, edges of the western South Carolina, northern Georgia, northeastern Alabama. All right, the Cherokee is part of the Iranian language group. The 19th century James Mooney, an early American ethnographer, recorded one oral tradition that told of the tribe having migrated south in ancient times from the Great Lakes region, where other Iranian-speaking peoples have been based. But anthropologist Thomas R. White writes in 2007, dating the split among the people as earlier. He says that the origin of the Proto-Icorian language was likely the Appalachian region, okay? And the split between northern and southern Icorian languages began about 4,000 years ago. Don't that sound like the tribes of Israel, though? Okay. By the 19th century, European American settlers had classified the Cherokee of the Southeast as one of the 5 civilized tribes in the region. They were Agranian, lived in permanent villages and had begun to adopt some cultural and technological practices of the white settlers. They also developed their own writing system. So before then, people didn't have their own writing. All right. A Cherokee language name for Cherokee people is Sequoia, translating as principal people, is the Cherokee word for the Cherokee language. Many theories, though none proven, abound that the origin of the name Cherokee. It may have originally been derived from one of the competitive tribes in the area. For instance, the Choctaw. Chalaki means people who live in the mountains, and Choctaw Chilukik means people who live in the cave country. The Cherokee did live alongside rivers in the mountain areas. The earliest Spanish transliteration of the name in 1755 is recorded as Cherokee, but it dates to accounts related to the Hernando de Soto expedition in the 16th century. Another theory is that the Cherokee derives from the Lower Creek word Clavake, Chulagi, as the Creek were also in this mountainous region. The Iroquois 5 nations, historically based in New York and Pennsylvania, called the Cherokee Oyata Rona, inhabitants of the cave country. It is possible the word Cherokee comes from the Muskogee Creek word meaning people of a different language, because the two people spoke different languages. All right. The Cherokee fought with the Yamasee, Catawba, the British in the late 1712 and early 1713 against Tuscarora in the Second Tuscarora War. The Tuscarora War marked the beginning of the British-Cherokee relationship that, despite breaking down on occasion, remained strong for much of the 18th century with the growth of the deerskin trade. The Cherokee were considered valuable trading partners since deerskins from the cooler countries of their mountain hunting region grounds were of a better quality than those supplied in the lowlands coastal tribes who were neighbors of the English colonies. This is about to be quick. I don't want to do too much talking on this one because I'm going to break it down section by section. I'm sending everybody home. I told you I'm clearing land. It's over with. Alright, OCOD.NEVCD. We welcome you with Cherokee point of view. Alright, when a non-Cherokee refuses to welcome new friends in life, these humans may have reason or excuses, for example, due to natural variations of skin color and others. These humans may have been limited in their ability to positively identify others as humans. They may be deeply depressed or defeated by life's darkness circumstances. They may be lazy due to the immature thinking, the energy, and even time itself carries over to the next day if unused, like a savings account. But in reality, they will not become rich, but impoverished and lazy. Okay. Photo to the right, the original official seal of the Cherokee Nation of Mexico, as was mandated by the Sequoia in 1842. For an explanation of the symbols in the seal, click here, but we ain't doing that. We getting straight into it. But for a Cherokee who decides not to welcome new friends indicates to our traditional thinking a simple lack of courage for which there is no reason or excuse acceptable. For a Cherokee to lack courage is to cease to exist. For we Cherokees know that to lack the fire of human courage is to cease to exist. For the Cherokees know that the fire of human courage comes only from faith in the provider, yourself, and all good things. All other negative reasons or excuses will shrink into proportion before the empowerment of faith bringing courage. For this is the white path. Check this out, the white path of Aninawea, and is the law of the Anuwaki Nahi, the provider of what is needed, not necessarily what is wished for. Who are the Cherokee to say that this was not provided all the time for other humans also? Watch this, family. It is proposed of the Cherokee Nation of Mexico, Chief Charles Rogers, MD, and all of its members to help bring all Cherokees together, as was prophesied by Sequoia on his deathbed. He said that, quote, a Cherokee child will someday come and find my tomb, and then my spirit will return to my people, thus reinforcing the most traditional values and treasures of honesty, brotherhood, and respect. It is the only then that Cherokees will only be able to act as skillful guides in the art of brotherhood and beneficial examples of service to humanity. In other words, Gadugi, unpaid community effort for community. Sequoia felt this was our destiny as Cherokees. He felt that just the opportunity to strive towards this goal was gift provided by the Onelifi, the provider. Many people have expressed the fact that the Cherokees resemble the Jewish population. Indeed, my own visits to Cherokee, North Carolina seem to confirm this. Unfortunately, the sampling of DNA appears to be incomplete. Cherokees have high levels of test markers associated with Berbers, Native Egyptians, Turks, Lebanese, Hebrews, and Mesopotamians. Sound like Moorish type stuff or groups, see? Let me say it again. Cherokees have high levels of markers associated with Berbers, Native Egyptians, Turks, Lebanese, Hebrews, and Mesopotamians. Genetically, they are more Jewish than a typical American Jew of European ancestry. The so-called full-blooded Cherokees have high levels of European DNA and trace to Native American DNA. Their skin color and facial features are primarily Semitic in origin, not Native American. Both DNA consultants and journalists are stating that the research results from the Sequoia Reservation apply to all Cherokees, yet separate populations of the Cherokees outside the reservation had Maya DNA, like Georgia's Creek and one of the countries, Cherokee, were predominantly Quechua. Okay, Quechua from South America, or else mixed Quechua, Maya, and Creek. However, during the 1600s, the Iberian Sephardic Jews and Moorish conversos, I told y'all, colonized North Carolina and Georgia mounds, where they mined and worked gold and silver. All European maps show the western North Carolina occupied by Appalachian Creek, Shawnee, and Ute Indians until 1718. Most of these indigenous tribal groups were forced out of the early 1700s. Anglo-American settlers moving into northern Tennessee and extreme southwestern Virginia mentioned seeing Jewish-speaking villages in that region until around 1800. Adair in his book stated that the Cherokee spoke an unknown language, perhaps similar to the Hebrew language, what has not been studied to my knowledge by DNA experts is the DNA of the Sephardic Jews. The Sephardic Jews were Hebrews whose community emerged on the Iberian Peninsula. ca. 1000 AD and went to establish communities in Spain and Portugal where they were known for distinctive characteristics and diasporic identity. Now watch this. Upon the Catholic monarchs in Spain issuing the Alhambra Decree of 1492 and subsequent mass conversions to Catholicism and executions, the Sephardic Jews left the Iberian Peninsula and joined other Jewish exiles in Europe and the Americas. Exiles, see? We've known or suspected as much as a long time American Indians and Turkic peoples of the Altai region of southern Siberia share common ancestors. American scientists Thomas Jefferson and Constantine Rafferty were the first to demonstrate this genetic certainty long before the days of DNA. Now the article of the American Journal of Human Genetics has clinched the argument with mitochondrial and Y chromosomal DNA studies. Thomas Jefferson thought American Indians were Turks and Tartars coming across the Bering Strait from Asia, while his contemporary John Filson believed them to be the Phoenicians, see? Many of their empires had begun to rise in the vicinity of Aslan, such as those as Bali, Indonesia, perhaps Oppenheimer's Eden in the east, Scythia, Russia, Steep Thebes, Lake Balkan area, Exarchan were driven eastwards north of China, but some fragments of the nation are still found in the Caucasus, such as Abinas or Abyssons, Aslikas, Alti Turks, Kushazibs, Kushmirs, or Modiors, etc. Of course, some Amerindian tribes know where they come from. These are the Cherokees, Croats, and Melungeons of North Carolina and Tennessee. We have so angelicized the word Cherokee, we have hidden its real name, Cicilia. See, Sicilians. We have taken a perfectly good Turkish word and removed from the Greek pronunciation. The Greeks called them Cicilia, the Babylonian Zilakuku, or Zilakiki, and the Dravidian Kilaku, which means Hindu sailor. Remember I told y'all Zoroaster's Indian too, huh? That's all Iraq, Iran, that's Babylonian. The Temple of Zoroaster here in America.